LinkedIn presents.
Here's the thing. Anxiety is an emotion. It's not an uncontrollable external threat, but an internal state you can learn to manage and learn from. You can even view your anxiety as a loyal partner in your leadership. Anxiety isn't an excuse. It's an opportunity to become strong.
Hi, this is the Next Big Idea Daily. I'm your host, a slightly congested Michael Kovnat, and it's Monday. For most of us, the start of a new work week. So, are you ready? You got your game face on? Sometimes showing up for work means putting on a mask of confidence, leadership, normality. But the fact is, many of us struggle with anxiety every day, even if we feel the need to hide it on the job. But what if I told you that anxiety doesn't have to hold you back professionally? What if I told you that it can actually be a superpower? That's the message of the book by Morra Aarons-Mele, The Anxious Achiever. In it, Morra shares her own story of overcoming anxiety and how she learned to use it to her advantage. She also provides practical tips and strategies for other anxious achievers to manage their anxiety and achieve their goals. Morra is an entrepreneur, mental health advocate, and top-rated podcaster. Here she is to share some of her big ideas.
Do you ever find yourself struggling with worry and dread about all the things that could go wrong? Are you driven, perfectionistic, someone who overthinks and might have a harder time letting things go? Do you sometimes feel that at any moment others will discover you don't deserve to be in the room? Maybe you avoid certain situations, like flying or public speaking, even if it means sacrificing opportunities or not advancing in your career. Or maybe you find yourself micromanaging, checking in with team members, or even redoing others' work because it's not quite up to your standards. These are just a few of the many ways anxiety shows up at work and can affect our well-being and our effectiveness. But I bet, at the same time, you're ambitious, driven, and successful. I'd bet you sometimes rely on your anxiety to keep moving forward and grow in your career. I wrote this book because my own anxiety propels me forward, but it's painful and sometimes all-consuming. I've devoted 4 years to researching and interviewing hundreds of leading clinicians, researchers, and leaders to figure out how to build a career that isn't ruled by your anxiety. Anxious achievers are goal-oriented, future-oriented, and prize team members because we go the extra mile and nothing else will do. We create extraordinary outcomes because we're always driven to excel and succeed at any challenge we set for ourselves. But we pay a price. Anxiety takes a toll on our mental health, our relationships, and our joy. Here's the thing. Anxiety is an emotion. It's not an uncontrollable external threat, but an internal state you can learn to manage and learn from. You can even view your anxiety as a loyal partner in your leadership. Anxiety isn't an excuse. It's an opportunity to become strong. When you understand your anxiety and learn how to leverage it, you develop a leadership superpower. It may not feel like it now, but anxiety can enhance your leadership, your ambition, your creativity, your empathy, your communication, and your vision. When you're attuned to your emotions, you become a self-aware, conscious, and thoughtful leader. What if, instead of habitually acting out your anxiety with a late night at work or endless scrolling on social media or a Snickers bar, you took a moment and asked your anxiety, "What are you trying to tell me? Why does this person's name in my inbox make me feel so much dread? Why does that upcoming meeting make me want a shot of vodka?" Reflection is where your anxiety can be an ally. It can provide key information that's not available to you in any other way. And you can see anxiety in a new way, neither good nor bad, but rather existing on a spectrum of unmanageable, manageable, and even helpful. But to do so, this might require discarding long-held beliefs of what strength, power, and leadership look like. Most of us act out our anxieties mindlessly with reactions that don't serve us or the people around us. It's not anxiety's fault. Anxiety itself is data. It can push us to check in and change things, and it can even bring extra drive, energy, and focus. But we need to shift from mindlessly reacting to more thoughtfully responding. This is really about taking power back from our automatic responses and learned behaviors. And then, with awareness, learning how to make the best decisions for ourselves and our teams. The best leaders understand how anxiety drives their behavior, and they develop the skills to manage their own reactions while understanding what motivates their team's actions. It's time to practice releasing control. To an anxious leader, control feels so good. It's such a human response if you think about it. It's our brain trying to protect us. As Dr. Christine Runyon says in my book, we've evolved as humans to stay alive. All of the systems in our brains still exist, and when we feel that things are uncertain and scary, those chemicals and hormones meant to keep us alive and anxious kick right in. And so along the way, we learn ways to cope with that anxiety so we feel better. And control is really a coping mechanism a lot of us have when we get anxious. If we have the illusion that if we only behave a certain way or think certain thoughts, then we can keep control and bad things won't happen. Our anxiety feels better, at least temporarily. 3 common ways we act out an anxious need for control are perfectionism, micromanaging, and overwork. Perfectionism. Imagine if it somehow vanished. Take perfect out of the picture, and you'd still be a conscientious, hardworking, and talented person, but without the anxiety and its ripple effects. In the book, we learn to recognize and navigate when perfection shows up for us and how it affects our work and other people. Overwork. Jason Kander is a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, and he became a rising star in the Democratic Party. Because of his charisma and his connections and media appeal, politicians constantly asked him to host fundraisers and make introductions. And he said yes to every request. He flew over the country, delivering keynotes and raising money for other candidates, even though behind the scenes he was suffering excruciating nightmares, terrible guilt and shame, and panic anxiety. It was only when he began to entertain thoughts of suicide that Jason sought out help and began weekly therapy. And he told me that's where I really learned that I had been using my professional life as an avoidance strategy for what was going on with me personally. Many of us anxious leaders rely on unhealthy reactions that may be soothing in the short term, but ultimately become habits that make us more stressed, deplete our energy, and undermine our leadership. If you want to truly manage your anxiety for the long haul, you need to understand the origins of your drive to work too hard and examine if the plaudits are really worth the price. Micromanaging is one of the most common tactics we anxious leaders rely on to try and maintain control. And micromanaging can look like getting too involved in the details, becoming overly involved in monitoring others' work, checking in on employees even if they're doing perfectly fine. Anxious times at work may mean we're always preparing to face a threat, and so we persist in hypervigilance. And this can really annoy coworkers, not to mention make them anxious too. Understanding your need to feel in control is super helpful if you have an anxious boss. How can you maintain your own boundaries while helping your own manager feel more calm? It's all about communication and boundaries. You can get unstuck from thought traps, and we all have them. Ever walked into a room and thought, I'm a fraud. I don't deserve to be here. You're in a thought trap. You're having imposter feelings. Thought traps can be called cognitive distortions or bias thinking, and it's literally life-changing once you understand your thought traps. And once we understand them, we lessen their teeth. We lessen their grips. We get free. A thought trap is a negative piece of either self-talk, self-criticism, negative feedback, or just an instant reflexive thought that happens when you're anxious. For example, catastrophizing, jumping to conclusions, feeling like an imposter or that you're not worth it, and should statements. It's that negative, critical voice in your head, and they're so powerful because we do them by habit. In the book, we look at common ways thought traps catch us at work and how to break free. It takes practice, more balanced thoughts, moving around, allowing others to help you, and other simple, research-based actions. Harley Finkelstein, founder and president of Shopify, is an anxious achiever from way back. He's had anxiety and a gift for entrepreneurship since childhood. He launched his first business at 13 and kept going, especially when his family hit hard times. This was not driven by passion, Harley told me. It was not driven by interests. It was not driven by some incredible ambition. It was driven by anxiety. And for a while, anxiety negatively impacted Harley's quality of life. He tried to get rid of it, but he had to learn to manage it in a healthier way. Along the way, he realized this is part of me. What I can do is I can manage it better and I can make sure the superpower gets honed. That's right, he called it a superpower. Some of us are just anxious. I have anxiety and depression and a bipolar 2 diagnosis. It's a blessing and a curse. But like any challenge, it's helped me to become more resilient, self-aware, and I believe more compassionate. You will occasionally hear people in the book refer to their anxiety as a superpower. I believe it can become a superpower if we do the work to make it so. Yet there is a tension here. Very few clinicians would call anxiety a superpower, and there is no doubt that anxiety can become disabling and render us unfunctional. Well-managed, lower-level anxiety, though, can be a tool and a powerful partner in your leadership journey.
If you're ready to become an anxious achiever, pick up a copy of Morra's book at your favorite bookstore. And if you're in the market for more big ideas, you can find them in our Next Big Idea app, where hundreds of nonfiction authors share insights from their work. And come back here tomorrow when we'll ask one of the biggest questions: is immortality possible? We'll hear from Nobel Prize-winning molecular biologist Venki Ramakrishnan, who's going to share insights from his book, Why We Die: The New Science of Aging and the Quest for Immortality. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.